Welcome to the Whole Child Sleep podcast, where we help families nurture dreams and raise wholeness. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Whole Child Sleep podcast. I'm your host, Myra Hartsheim, and today I am so lucky and blessed to have Kamisha and Aaron on the podcast today. Welcome, Kamisha and Aaron. So grateful that you have taken time to share your experience. It's so important to have options when it comes to sleep and parenting because one way doesn't work for everyone. And so by you sharing your experience and letting other families know that they have options, it's so helpful. So thank you both so much.
Thanks for having us. We're happy to share our experience because it was a good one, right?
We're very lucky to have found you, Myra.
Yes, very lucky.
I would say that we kind of noticed the change in Phoenix's sleep when he was 6 months old, when we kind of started introducing more solid foods to him. Before he would sleep, a good like 7 hours a day. And then once we introduced solid food, things just kind of changed a little bit. I was still nursing quite a bit. So having him sleep in the bed with me, he'd wake up, want to nurse, but we were just really struggling with sleep. He would sleep for like 4 hours and then he'd be up like every hour after that. So, and we just moved to Montana from Colorado and just life was a lot.
Lots of changes.
Back then, and just didn't really know like where else to turn. So I kind of started looking up like sleep consultants and stuff because I had seen all these, other Facebook groups that were like, oh, try the sleep specialist, blah, blah. And just came across Myra and scheduled a consult, which was super awesome. And, just gave me your advice and your guidance. Because as soon as you said digestion was his problem, it clicked for me. Because we had taken Phoenix to like a chiropractor before as well, and she had said that he was having like digestive issues even when she would try and adjust him. So it just made sense, and we felt like it was a great investment for all of us. I'm so glad that we went through the process to find out the issues that were happening with Phoenix, that Potato, his body does not handle that well. And so we've just been very mindful about the things that we give our son. I mean, he still eats like Cheez-Its and goldfish and, certain things that he probably still shouldn't have. You got to enjoy life a little bit. But since we weeded out all of those things that have like remnants of Potato and just Potato in general, his sleep changed.
Oh my goodness, amazing. So let me back up just a little bit because I feel like families will be able to relate to what you were just describing. Wakings, were they easy? Were they just, pick them up, put them back down? What did those look like?
He just wanted to nurse. So it was really just about like having that comfort. So when I was still nursing, I would just nurse him back to sleep. He'd go to sleep and then he'd be up like every hour after that. And then we eventually switched him to his own room, just to give mama a break. But then we also switched to bottle feedings, I guess you could say. So those times when he would wake up every hour, we would give him a bottle. And so working with you, we actually found that was part of what was causing the issue as well with him waking up so frequently is we didn't know if it was hunger or he just wanted comfort. And we were both very nervous to take that bottle away. But once we did, again, sleep changed very drastically. Was he happy? No, but it was like, I think 3 nights or something of crying, and Aaron took over the night wakings so mommy could sleep. And he just started sleeping through the night.
This is the golden example of a family who didn't have to sleep train. They addressed the root issues, and from there, they've been getting good rest consistently after disruptions have passed. And so thank you both for trusting us, because I know it's scary to trust something that's different and new and all the information that's out there on helping your kiddo sleep through the night. is all sleep training. And so you guys are just a beautiful example again of a family that didn't have to do that. Unfortunately, not all families can do that without sleep training, but there are a lot of them that can. So it's just, again, so encouraging for other families to know that is an option.
Well, and I try to pass that information along when it comes to like digestion and sleep for sure. Because I feel like you talking to you when we did the consult and you literally were like, it's his digestion. Everything I've read about sleep training, they don't talk about digestion at all. They say, oh, let him cry it out or do the what is the Ferberment where you go and check on him every 10 minutes or whatever. You know what I mean? And even just having people come into your house like super nanny and just like let him cry, but be over here, those type of things. But you were literally the only person that was like, it's his digestion, and I think you should get this done because that made a huge difference. So now my friends that have kiddos that are struggling with sleep, I say maybe you should look into their digestion, and maybe get a food intolerance done because it really did help us. Like it made so much sense, like the potatoes, because we gave him a lot of potatoes and then he just kind of stopped liking them. And I remember Dr. Lai saying, children are smart. They will let you know what's going on with them. You just got to pay attention. And he just kind of stopped liking potatoes. And even now, like he might have a French fry every now and again. But even, last night we had dinner and I was giving him a bites of my potatoes because he wanted the cheese. He didn't care about the potatoes. But when he had the bites of the potatoes, he was kind of like, I don't like that. So yeah, you just have to pay attention.
Yeah, I think the important part is it's not a one size fits all approach.
Yeah.
It's just kind of the traditional, ideology you get is, oh no, every kid is sleep trained this way, when every kid sleeps different. Every kid has different biology. So what you guys did is really got to the root cause and said, okay, what is the difference in Phoenix that's making him not want to sleep? And we've landed on digestion, which, may not be digestion for every kid, but in his case, because of the way, obviously your knowledge and everything else, you were like, this is what I want to try first. And then the other important part is you asked questions and you got really deep into all that so that we kept trying different things until it worked. As opposed to just going, oh, well, this isn't working. Let's just let him cry longer and see what happens, or, some of those other things that just force the kid to learn it, but maybe not in the healthiest way, or the way that we wanted to do, at least. Part of it too was, obviously you guys provided us so much good information and support, especially you, Myra. We could literally had a question, we just shoot it out and you get right back to us and just helped us, for one, recognize that it's going to be a process and we have to kind of roll with it. And for two, you're so, the depth of your knowledge is amazing and fantastic. And it was just made us feel good about how we were approaching it and that we could do it, with the right tools, to help them get through it. So, and it's an ongoing process. It's definitely not perfect now, but it just helped us, understand a lot more about our son and understand a lot more about sleep and use those things now to help us, if there is challenges, we're equipped to be able to handle it.
Are there any tips or advice that you would give families who are struggling with sleep right now?
You just be patient and pay attention to what your child needs at the end of the day. Like, don't fight them on that nap. Don't fight them on that bedtime, because I feel like at the end of the day, we're so worried about like what we have to do next and what we need to get done. And so we're like, just go to sleep because I got stuff to do. But, they can feel that agitation. They can feel your mood. And so they're just going off of how you're feeling. So just be patient and love them because you never like, there's going to be one day when they're like, I don't want to cuddle with you. Get out of my room. You know what I mean? So take those moments, like don't take them for granted. But like appreciate them because they're only little for so long, and like all of this is temporary.
And I'd say too, like hit it on, just to try not to fight it if you can, because the more you fight it, the more it's going to cause that kind of friction. And, like we said, there's a lot of different advice out there on do this, do that. And sometimes you think, oh, because it didn't work, I'm not doing it right, or you're judging yourself. But in the end, no, it's all about your kiddo and how they sleep and understanding them. So another thing would, well, I'd say call Myra, but also, you know, use question and experimentation too. Ask yourself questions about, hey, do I notice that he doesn't sleep when we do this? Do I notice, his digestion's off, when he eats this? And just kind of be more in tune with those things and try to notice what's different and what's good on the nights that are good for sleep. And then sometimes you can hone in on that, but definitely calling Myra would be a good idea.
Yeah, to tag on to that, because I was going to say, trust yourself, but trust what Myra says. Because, I wouldn't say there wasn't a level of trust between us. There was like hesitancy, especially when it came to like removing the bottle. Because there were so many calls where you were like, I really think you should, get rid of the bottle. Like, I think it's going to help. And we're like, no, we're not ready. And you're like, have you thought about getting rid of the bottle yet? And we're like, we don't know. And then once we finally did it, we were like, oh my God, why didn't we do it when Myra suggested the first time? Because it really did change everything, And granted, yes, he still gets the bottle at bedtime now. He gets, sometimes it's back-to-back bottles. Sometimes he's tired enough where just one bottle is enough for him. But he does sleep through the night.
And I think importantly, for when we taught him how to sleep without the bottle, and now that he's gone back, I don't think it's as much of a, like that was his sole comfort and everything was sleep. And now it's like he sleeps, the bottle's kind of separate. It's just his routine. But it also kind of gave us the tools we need, I think, for when we're ready to take the bottle away again.
Yep.
To understand, like, here's how we did it last time, and we have now like the confidence in saying, okay,
he's gonna cry,
right,
he's gonna be
we're gonna
upset
have
for a little bit.
A little bit of fight. If we kind of go back to what we learned and understand that these things take time and changes take time, that we'll get through it and eventually it'll be fine. And like you said, we'll have a day when we miss probably him being on the bottle and being all cute with it. But for now, it's working for us. So sometimes you have to go with what works for a little bit, especially when now life is throwing you other curveballs. So
So that was such helpful advice. I love hearing your perspective and your advice to parents. I'm grateful for you both. You meet those clients in your experience as a sleep coach, and some of them, they're just closer to your heart. So you both are.
Glad to hear that. There's times I thought you'd probably never want to talk to us.
She's gonna fire us. They don't get rid of this bottle.
Oh, we appreciate you, and the big thing is you've been just like such a good person and human being to us, and friend and everything. So you don't always get that when you work through a program. Whereas with working with you, it was, what is the way that works for all of us, and let's talk through this and let's figure it out and understand. And I think that's really important, especially like I said, when every kid's different, so you have to go through that. You have to ask those questions, and that's what you're amazing at. You go, okay, well, let's think about this. Let's talk about it more. Let's ask this question. And then it kind of helps us create our own journey. So really, again, like you said, it's these are ideas, but it's making that journey your own and using that knowledge of understanding more about his physiology and his body to make it work.
I feel like that is what I want for every family, is to make this their own. And you guys have really owned it. So thank you both so much. Thank you all for joining. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will talk to you all next week. Thank you for listening to the Whole Child Sleep podcast. For references to articles discussed in this podcast, or for evidence on the topics that we've discussed on this podcast, please look in the description below, or you can find the articles linked in our blog at curesleep.us. I want to give you an idea of what you can expect in terms of structure of this podcast moving forward. You can expect one podcast a week, and we will cover a topic for 2 weeks. The first week, you can expect the podcast to be more educational and informational. The following week will be more of a Q&A covering the same topic. If you have a question that you would like us to answer during the Q&A podcast, please send them in at 406-551-4083. And if you've found this podcast to be helpful, we ask that you share it. We would love to reach more tired families. We also ask that you subscribe and like and give us a 5-star review. This also helps us reach more tired families. We hope you have a beautiful day, and we will talk to you next week. By listening to this podcast, you understand and agree to the following. The content of this podcast offers the opinions of Myra Hartsheim and her guests, and it is not intended as medical advice. It serves as an informational purpose. For personalized and medical concerns, consult your healthcare professional. The views and opinions in this podcast are our own and don't represent our employees or affiliates. The views of the guests in this podcast are their own and do not necessarily reflect that of Cure Sleep Group. Our podcast and website are not for legal purposes, such as establishing a standard of care or expert witness testimony. We don't guarantee the accuracy of statements or opinions. We appreciate your assistance in maintaining content accuracy. If you find errors in our podcast or blogs, please reach out via email to support@curesleep.us. This podcast is owned by Cure Sleep LLC and presented by the Whole Child Sleep Podcast. Thank you for tuning in.